This season has been one for the books, and it's all thanks to you, our amazing listeners. We never could have imagined the support we would receive this season. We're thrilled to have reached over 2 million listeners since our inception in 2020, and over 1 million listeners in 2023 alone. Thank you for the support, and we hope you will join us for Season 8 early next year. For now, we hope you enjoy our final episode of Season 7 and of 2023. Happy holidays, all. This is The Balanced Voice.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Balanced Voice podcast. We're just chatting. We just had a end of year board meeting.
We did.
It was good.
It was good.
We have a great board.
We have a great board. Fun people.
Active people, community people, finance people.
All walks of life, all industries.
Yes, law enforcement, jewelry.
What else? Oil and gas.
Yes.
Insurance bank. So finance.
Just, I don't know. We have a great board. So it was fun. And I love the end of year because we get to look back on everything we've done. And this podcast has been so fun this year. We thought we hit 1 million viewers, and it turned out we are at 2 million. We are actually 2.3, almost 2.5 million based on the numbers. Like, it is incredible. So it's so exciting. We're so thrilled that this has resonated. Jen, your flavor and spunk, we love. So thank you for being with us.
Beeps.
It's perfect.
I haven't had to beep too much, though. I'm quite proud of myself.
You're really good.
Yeah, thanks.
You're really good. I'm going to still have to be bleeped all next season.
Are you? Why?
No, it's not in me. I can't do it. It's not.
You sound so bold, and then you're like,
I know. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. But, okay, let's recap. We always end the season by recapping. Every season is so fun. I loved this season because I feel like we had a lot of dynamic women.
And we did it dynamically, too, by the way. We were kind of like, oh, this is going on. Let's do that.
Very time sensitive. We kept it time sensitive. But, we started with women in animal cruelty. And then we went to another woman who's, rescuing dogs. And women who are saving lives, pediatric cancer. Women who are rescuing people from being trafficked. Women who are live streaming crime as it happens and bringing cutting edge news to people in real time. Women who are launching massive research projects in public safety.
We have some good men too, though.
And then we had men.
Dr. Storch, right?
Who's doing incredible work.
Who else did we have?
Well, we had parents.
Oh, we did.
With the loss of a son and what they're doing. So, okay.
Tamia.
Do you have a favorite?
Oh, let me look at the list. No, I don't have a favorite. I have one that I was super excited about was Grizzy.
Grizzy. You're such a big Grizzy fan.
I'm such a big Grizzy fan.
We all are
Grizzy fans. Not Grizzly, people. Yes. Those are fighting words.
Yes. Does anybody say Grizzly?
Yeah, people to her face.
Oh, that's sweet.
So everyone she'll post and she'll be like, I'm gonna kick your ass.
Yes.
Because you just call me Grizzly.
Grizzy.
It's Grizzy. And I stay addicted to her at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
And she's incredible.
Phenomenal. I was excited about that one. Who else? All of them, really. I can't tell you that one completely stands out, but that was one that was different. That isn't, it was real news media, right?
It was new, and I think what was so great about Grizzy is she's very much the heartbeat of pop crime in our city and showing that people do care, they want to know, they will be engaged, and they want to help. True crime trends and is number one across many markets. But when you have somebody exposing it real time in your city,
that's right.
It's fascinating.
And this mainstream is following her.
Yeah,
that's how they get their leads.
Yeah, I know.
And then she has other cities and other markets.
Although they poke at her, which is ridiculous.
Those are fighting words too. I a couple of debates online. But the other thing too is that other markets, other cities want a Grizzy.
Yeah, that's what I think, actually. I think if you're in another major city, and we're so lucky we have listeners and people who engage from all over the U.S., you could be the next Grizzy.
You could.
Safely. She's a very smart girl. She takes a lot of precautions to stay safe. She knows not to intervene. She's not up there in police business, trying to create problems. She's where she needs to be, but she's capturing real stories in real time.
And she has her own story. That's what I think is fabulous. She's got just a fascinating story of her own life and how she's gotten to where she is. And I just think she needs to keep getting funded like the big networks do. So we can get the live news that is truthful and honest, and it's not opinion based.
Yeah, it's not opinion based because you can't really. It's not. There is no opinion. This just happened.
Although she does take some people down online. Have you ever seen that?
I have one. Yes.
When the idiocracy gets to be a little bit too much.
Few in particular, I'm like, oh, I'm here. Where's the popcorn? I'm here for this one. I have to say, I have such a heart for any parent that's lost a child, and I have a special interest in sort of online safety. And Tim and Tamia, with the loss of James, because we watched the program on it. There was an investigative report on what happened to the loss of James and the crew that was harassing him to the point of him taking his own life. And from what we know, these people are coming out of parts of Africa, and they're making $200 on average a night per child that they're exploiting, where traditionally people in those parts of the world will make $60 US a month.
So they're making exponentially a lot more money that they are making on a regular basis.
Yeah, and some of these attackers are young men who probably, I was thinking about it, they must feel so resentful of a young boy like James, who's living a great life in the US, a star athlete, getting ready for college. Every meal is taken care of, a beautiful home. Like, go kill we hate you. You have everything.
There's no humanity. They have no sense of human decency or empathy for kids or children, much less adults.
The life. Yeah. Just life. And what killed me about that one was, James, just see Tim and Tamia talk about James and then what they're doing in the schools now. Every time I watch her present and she says to these kids, we need you here. We need you here. Like, her voice cracks. I'm crying. Your life is so valuable. You can always come. You can always disclose. We'll always take care of it. There are ways to remove any threat against you online. But the length that the predators took by having a girl engage, because we talk about, it's a fake post. You think you're talking to a guy, but you're really talking to a girl, and they're sending you pictures. It's not really, it's a picture they've stolen online. But this was a video chat. It's elevated.
It is a young girl online being told what to say, or she's a part of it. She's getting paid for it, and literally coercing him into taking his own life.
Isn't that crazy?
For financial gain. It is,
being sexual with him.
Being sexual. Yeah, and at that age, we all want to be accepted. Whether people, there is also a time where people I'm an extrovert, and I'm very confident and strong-willed and so on and so forth. Then people will think that, she doesn't have, she's okay. Anybody can say anything to her and she'll be, those words, even as an adult, words affect you. Mm-hmm. And at that critical age where you're learning who you are, figuring out who you want to be, and these people are just leveraging that because you want to be accepted, you want to be loved by someone else outside of your family, you want to be adored. Mm-hmm. And they just purely take advantage of it.
And the exploitation at such a massive scale. We're not just going to show this to your parents, but we're going to show it to all your contacts, all your friends, the schools that are looking at you, your coach. Because again, a lot of these kids are star athletes, which is so interesting. They have a lot to lose right then and there. Yeah. They're afraid,
the brand means something.
Yes.
To the external world, right?
Did I break a moral code of conduct? Mm-hmm. I did take a picture. I did talk to this girl. She was a minor. I'm a minor. So they really get you. And it just, we need you here. Every time I think of that, we need you here.
Last night I sat with a family whose daughter is being, we believe, groomed, right? We don't know if the daughter's being groomed for some level of sexual exploitation, or if it's, she turned 18, she wants to go out and have fun, she no longer wants to be the rule and go into the rules, regulations of her parents. I see more and more of that happen, and there are times where I'm so glad that I've taught the boys to be like, whatever anybody says to them, I'm just like, don't worry. Yeah. You make a mistake, we are still here. Yeah. If you think the world is going to end because of something you did, it's not. Mm-hmm. We can always navigate through it. And I think that's where parents have to continue. And I think Tim and Tamia, we're talking about this, you have to teach them how to navigate, and you can't say it's my way or the highway. Mm-hmm. Because when they choose the highway, there are people with bad intentions for them, there's drugs, there's sexual exploitation. And so that type of parenting, that command and control parenting, cannot keep going. Yeah. You've got to have conversations with your kids.
And raise them to be able to handle whatever comes their way, good decisions or bad.
Yeah.
It leads me to Dr. Storch, who's with Baylor College of Medicine, and at the tip line of Crime Stoppers, we get tips to solve felony crimes, but we also get tips from young kids. And there seems to be an increased tie with mental health distress. So-and-so self-cutting, so-and-so has suicidal ideations, so-and-so's in, mental distress, depression, anxiety, et cetera. And so we haven't necessarily had a place for those kids, but now with Baylor, they have all of these programs that are funded through the state and through the government. These kids can have a place for free services.
Yeah.
And we wanted to make sure that people knew about that.
That's right. And I think that's so important, because what we're seeing now is, like, we used to think vulnerabilities to mental health issues or this type of exploitation or somebody taking advantage of them was for families that had only one parent homes, or lower socioeconomic, or had some type of adversity that they had to face. Now we know the vulnerabilities are across anything.
Yeah.
This is crossing all socioeconomic levels, cultural boundaries, gender. So it's just every kid is a potential victim of what's going on out there. And I think they all need some level of we all need, I think, especially in these times, some level of mental health support, someone to talk to, someone that's outside of your parents who you don't always want to tell everything to, because you don't want to be in trouble. That's the disciplinarian. I just think that Dr. Schwartz's program is so amazing, and they can call without having to have now they're going to inform the parents eventually, because it's a minor, but at least they're getting that word out there and feel like they reach out to somebody.
I mean, as adults, I think we have the ability to turn off the things that bother us. Like, I cannot handle Twitter or X. I know I think Elon Musk has made it better. Maybe I'm rare in thinking that, I don't know. But it was extremely, extremely difficult to be on the platform before, and I think he's evened it out a bit. I really don't know. But still, if I'm on it for too long, it's so mean.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's the categories I'm following. Maybe other people are not experiencing it, but I tend to follow news and politics and current events. It's so mean. Everything is so mean. I mean, you could have one nice comment for 1,000 really mean comments. And it's like adults just go there to tear each other apart. Yeah. But I turn it off.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm going to be a Dr. Storch. I'm going to be the first one sitting on his couch. But I don't think young kids know how to turn these things off.
There's a really good movement called Positive Thinking Works. Do you remember that?
I know what you're talking about.
Positive. It basically said, though, and this is part of that if you're gossiping in front of your children, like that's part of it. Like that's kind of seeds some of this, talking bad about each other, feeling the ability to go past what's being nice and be just not nice and mean and talking about.
But I'm going to tell you something.
Yeah.
Gossiping privately is so much different than outwardly.
Oh, just publicly outing somebody. Yeah.
People. I mean, people get so rude. But we went from, again, we have our favorites, and I mean, I loved every single episode this season, but I go back to like the women who are really moving the needle, Tina and Tama. With what they're doing with Houston Pet Set, and then Route 1 Productions, their documentary For the Animals. I'll tell you, those two women have changed the entire landscape for animal welfare in Houston. And then you have
the brand of it, what it looks like, right? Like how to engage in it, or
for sure,
or just that it's almost like saving pets can be sexy.
Like, well, I mean, years ago, and they'll say it. It was years ago. It was like, oh God, that's a crazy pet person.
Right.
Now,
cat lady.
Now it's like, obviously we want to save stray dogs. Like, of course we do. What type? Right. We're a civilized society, and I really credit them to it. And then you have like Susan Boggio, who's a producer on their film, and is a legacy of serving children and animals. I mean, Susan, though, is one that rescuing.
Yeah.
She's like, I was not in the best part of town, and I rescued a few dogs.
Like,
and now
what are you doing? Yeah, I know. I've been on the phone call. Stop. Turn around.
Yes,
but she won't.
No, she doesn't
She's
care.
like brave beyond brave. I think that the biggest point of those two conversations that I took was Susan just pure humanitarian in every sense of the word.
Really is.
She really is. And conversation with Tina Tama was, these are, when we deal with victims, human victims, you have to convince, you have to beg, to get for them to go get help sometimes, right? And from whether it's mental health or whether it's sexual exploitation and assault, you have to like get them to drink the water. But come on, let's go tell somebody. Let's get you help. But the dogs are just looking at you, and the cats are just looking at you like,
please help me.
Please help me. I'll go with you. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm just going to bark at you and wag my tail and go with you. If I bark, it's
because I'm scared.
I'm thinking I'm in the wrong industry. I'm thinking I'm like, maybe I should go to pets rather than humans these days.
I mean, and literally all of us, I think they're creating a space for all of us to get involved in. And honestly, in whatever city wherever you are, I promise you there's something rewarding to do in this space, whether it's just donate a bag of dog food, make a donation, volunteer, because the need is so outrageous.
Thank you to our sponsor FlipLock for making this episode possible. FlipLock is a door lock unlike any other lock that was created as a nationwide, straightforward solution to protect your people, whether that be in universities, dorms, daycares, hospitals, or even government buildings. It can be added to nearly any door to keep you and yours safe. We are proud to have such a strong and like-minded sponsor of the Balanced Voice podcast. Check out FlipLock at fliplock.com. That's FLIPLOK.com.
But speaking of brave, I have to go to Helen Perry and John Sage.
Wait, let me go back one thing.
Yes.
What I will say to parents is building empathy for animals inside your children will help you make sure you don't raise assholes.
Is that the quote? That's going to
be my new quote. That's my new quote.
Building empathy
Bleep me, please.
Building empathy for children when it comes to animals will ensure you don't raise
Yes.
I love it.
They're going to have to bleep you. I'm so excited.
Oh yeah, my first.
But seriously, if you can, because remember when you were kids and you knew somebody like burned a cat or something, like this, some horrible thing. Okay, those are the narcissists. Those are the sociopaths. So, yeah.
That makes me think about when we were doing our deep dive into camp safety.
Yeah.
There are a lot of rural camps in Texas and across the country where kids think animal mutilation is fun because they're in the wilderness.
How did you find that out?
Oh, we did a deep dive into camp safety. Deep, hundreds and thousands of pages of documents and Facebook posts and comments, reading thousands of comments.
So this was just comments and like from the parents or from the camps?
No, from the kids, like with pictures of like a hog that, or an animal that they shot. Now they're mutilating.
Not just like for hunting from a conservation standpoint.
There's hunting and there's hunting classes, but then what did they do with the animals after? Or finding like a rabbit or whatever, a squirrel, or like taking it. But it's an important point.
If your child is hurting an animal on purpose, you need to seek Dr. Storch's mental health.
Yeah, there's something wrong there.
Yeah.
There's something
Okay,
wrong.
sorry. Go to...
No, I was saying, you mentioned, people showing signs of being brave. I mean, it makes me think of Helen Perry and John. So, yeah.
That was one of my favorite. That one came through, my sister, Natalie, and you already knew them, which was so cool. And so she had said, Jen, you just told me about the story about this family who lost their sister and that they've started this, prison ministry.
Bridges to Life.
Bridges to Life. And it is just transforming people's lives and decreasing recidivism back into prison. And so I mentioned, and you already knew, of course, you know everybody in the city, but I like that. To me, there have been so many times where I have so much resentment to perpetrators when I've seen that they've hurt a young child, sexually exploited them, assaulted them over and over again. Like I used to say, all I had is a bullet. Like that's all I have for somebody like that is, or the child abuse case we heard about today on the board.
Just thinking about that case,
right? A 2-year-old, abusing a 2-year-old. Like there's just only times where I only have a bullet, and if it weren't for my family, I would probably pull that trigger. So this is a family that just literally flipped their animosity and anger and pain into helping people that you wouldn't ever think they would want to help. It was beautiful.
Bridges to Life. Helen and John Sage started after they lost their sister to a violent robbery. It just horrible. And her last words were, "Please, I'm a mom." And they still proceeded to kill her. But what was interesting is John, we touched on it because John said, the only healing, really, it's, God forgives us and that healing comes when we forgive others. But if you're with someone who is blocking that and saying, well, I don't need forgiveness, I'm innocent, I didn't do anything, and or they deserved it, that it's harder to work in that scenario. But when you're with somebody who says, I did it and I'm remorseful and I'm sorry and I want to change, it's also our job, right? To be totally. God's hands on this earth for redemption.
Yeah.
I thought they were fascinating, but then we went all the way to the flip side, and not the flip side, but in the sense of working with the Arnold Foundation. We were lucky to have them on the podcast, and I'm pulling.
Yeah, that's right. It's kind of the other side of that, right?
It's a little bit evidence-based justice with Jennifer Doliak and the Arnold Ventures. They're doing so much work on criminal justice, incredible risk assessment tools they've come up with, looking at rates of recidivism, what works in the prison system. Criminal
one was about grace, right? Remember that one, right? It's about grace, which and you're like, no, grace is not a person. Grace is the actual act of giving grace and mercy. And what, if I'm not mistaken, catch me if I'm wrong, they said that when someone creates their first offense, nonviolent, right, and they are given a second chance, not put in jail or prison or just a fair chance at having a second chance, that the rate of returning and committing another crime is drastically lower because they got a little bit of mercy.
Yeah. And I think that huge, big concept of bail reform stems from that. Everybody agreed that when you're dealing with a low-level, nonviolent offender, first time, we've got to give them a second chance. We've just got to. And that's misdemeanor bail reform. And we all agreed, let them out, let them home. Don't keep them here. Don't let them lose their job, lose their apartments, lose their houses,
lose their family.
It's all
that's a mind shift, right? Because your brain wants to say they will matriculate or mature into a even bigger offender.
Yeah,
like even bigger crimes, right? But not always. No. So you really have to just.
But that type of thinking can't be applied, and this is where we come in. You can't really apply it when you're dealing with someone who's killed 6 people, and you might think that's crazy. Oh God, that's extreme. No, it's not extreme. And
it's
if you
for real.
Want multiple cases and examples, we're happy to show it to you, because victims matter, and the lives of victims are changed forever. And I think Brittany Hebert Franklin and Mira Sorvino really kind of gave us the perspective. Mira Sorvino, of course. On terms of what happens to victims and those who are trafficked. But Brittany, of course, and just what happens to people's lives when they shift tragically.
And, totally.
Mira Sorvino, though, was fascinating.
She was. So much depth. I don't think I ever contemplated, but I was completely surprised. I never thought that she wasn't or was not, in depthful in her I didn't even know she was humanitarian, first of all.
She's a Harvard grad who's been doing this for
unbelievable.
30 years.
Yeah, she puts a lot of
over the globe.
Right.
I mean, the word.
Yeah. And knew about the topic. She wasn't superficial.
No.
She didn't just lend her name to something.
No.
She really does care. And when you talk with her about human trafficking and what she's seen across the globe, not just in our city, you can tell the depth that the woman has about this and passionate about the issue.
Mira Sorvino, Harvey Weinstein, almost a Harvey Weinstein victim, but had so much cognizance and intelligence and personal conviction to fight her way out of that, even though it cost her professionally, and she talks about that, to doing deep dives into what trafficking looks like, what the education needs to be, what reforms need to be in place, what policies and procedures and laws and education. I mean, she's all over the world.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fascinating.
And she took roles too. I mean, The Sound of Freedom, that was a movie that was not that didn't have a huge budget. So, it wasn't like she was getting paid probably what she gets paid in her other films. So
she took a small role.
And she took a small role. Yeah.
Moving on to Strength of Human Spirit, Brittany.
Oh, that's like my soul sister. I'm going to Louisiana this week, and I was like, oh, maybe.
She is all
phenomenal.
spunk.
Yeah. So we need one of her in every issue we have that we deal with.
Oh my gosh.
Send out there to.
Brittany is obviously leading the way with research on pediatric cancer through Sky High for Kids, but just a dynamic, wildly infectious person. Just had a baby, has an unbelievable story herself. Not like Grizzy, but still one that is like you're on the edge of your seat listening to her childhood and her life, but has turned that passion. And I called it, is this how you survive? But fantastic.
And self-made.
conversation.
I mean, from just gritty, just human ingenuity and creativity and spunk and passion, and yeah, it's just I was like, oh, there's my soul sister.
And all of this are incredible podcasts. You know, we want to thank those who support it, those of you who listened, commented, shared. Maybe you took a Spotify survey. We just launched those this year. Gave us ideas.
TV, we did domestic violence.
Oh my gosh, which
we weren't able to meet, but Nicole did it for us, and that was phenomenal.
CEO. Oh my gosh, the work that they're doing on obviously domestic violence, but legal representation, working with the offenders. These institutions are actually providing services that move the needle.
Direct services. Yeah, it's amazing.
And Nicole Kristoff is a story that everybody would want to hear.
Yeah, that kind of worked out. It was serendipity that she did that one. She knows so much about the topic with her own family.
We want to thank you guys for listening, for joining us, everybody that's involved in the podcast, Anna Rager with Flipblock for sponsoring the podcast this year. We went far and beyond what we thought we would.
Did.
It's always so fun. I can't wait to see. Okay, I still want Elon Musk on the podcast.
I know, me too.
Who else do you want
Elon,
on the podcast?
It's time.
Come on.
Oh, you know what? Just came in my head. A season of young kids doing great things.
I love that.
Isn't that cool?
That's actually fantastic.
So maybe something like that. We can part of most of the season next time. We can have some of the young women, young men that are doing crazy things that are wonderful for humanity, and
I love that.
And maybe crime focused or victim advocate focused. Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll do that. I also want Amal Clooney. I love her.
She's fabulous. Can I just have 2 inches?
I know.
She's taller.
And 30 pounds thinner. I mean, the woman is like tall and skinny, and she's perfect
beautiful.
hair and face.
And she seems like she's so.
She is.
Like she has substance. And she's got George Clooney. I mean,
she's the better half. She's fun. She's like the better.
You're gonna say that out loud. Do you know anybody that knows George?
I've met George.
You've met George. That's right. I was gonna say.
And she's the better.
I think he would say that too.
He's going to say that. She's amazing.
Yeah. I wonder if I'm the better half. Probably not.
I'm the better half.
I'm the better half. Stop it, Rami. I disagree, Rami.
I'm the better half. I am. No, Rami's so sweet.
I know. I was gonna say, come on.
He's so sweet, but no.
I love you.
No,
but y'all are both 2 good halves.
No, we're both.
And Kip is probably is the better half. He's nicer than I am. Oh God, so much nicer than I am.
You're so sweet.
Really?
Yeah. We're gonna keep going.
Okay.
I do want to say in other news, I am very public about my personal life and my life. I want everybody to know I got Botox this year.
What?
I did. Did I not tell you?
No, I didn't
because
even notice.
Because of the podcast. Because I go back and look at podcasts, and I'm like, my eyebrows are literally crossed, if not touching.
Stop.
Because I'm listening. So my listening.
I thought that was a unibrow.
No, the unibrow we take care of. The
Yeah.
mustache and the unibrow. It's a great feature to have, I'll tell you. But I was in Boston for Thanksgiving, and my sister keeps saying, I watched the podcast. You need to do Botox. I'm like, I'm terrified. I don't want to age. I can't do it. Blah, blah, blah. I did it in Boston.
Did you really?
So, I'm frowning. Or what am I doing?
You're not doing anything. Where did you do it?
Just my forehead. Very little. I cried hysterically and made them do half the dose.
Okay, look. If all of a sudden y'all see me like this, y'all will know I did little work here.
You don't need it.
This is going to be that's going to be my next thing.
Would you
I'm just going to talk about plastic surgery.
Okay. Everybody, thank you so much for joining the podcast, the season. We love you. Stay engaged. Stay in touch. We want to hear what you want to hear about, and we'll make sure to incorporate it. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you next season on The Balanced Voice. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to today's Balanced Conversation. You can find real solutions and tangible resources in our show notes at thebalancedvoicepodcast.com. To join the conversation, follow us on Instagram at The Balanced Voice Podcast and on Twitter at @BalancedVoice_. Stay up to date on Rania's work by following her at The Rania Report, and we can't wait to see you next week for another Balanced Conversation.